Listen carefully, my beloved soul. Before another second passes, type, "I receive this," in the comments as an act of faith, like this video as a sign of agreement with heaven, subscribe to this channel to remain connected to what God is unfolding in your life, and click the bell so you do not miss what the Spirit is releasing next. This is not promotion, this is participation, this is alignment. This is you saying yes before you fully understand, and hear this, God said, the person you're praying for is already praying for you, and you were not meant to stumble upon these words by accident, you were led here on purpose. This moment was scheduled long before you pressed play. Heaven is watching you right now, and God has not forgotten you. My beloved soul, hear this slowly and let it sink into the deepest places of your heart, the prayer you whisper in the quiet, the name you speak through tears, the longing you carry when no one sees. It has not fallen to the ground unanswered. God says the one you have been praying for in faith and sometimes in pain is already lifting your name to heaven as well, not knowing how, not knowing when, but feeling the same pull, the same stirring, the same unexplainable ache. This is not coincidence. This is divine alignment. This is heaven weaving two prayers into one answer. Listen carefully, because this word is for you and you alone, not the crowd, not the masses, not everyone scrolling by, but you, yes you, the one who has asked God late at night if your prayers are heard, the one who wondered if silence meant no, the one who questioned if waiting meant forgetting. Hear this, God's silence was not absence, it was preparation, and while you were praying from your side of the valley, the other person was praying from theirs, and heaven was listening to both. My beloved soul, do not skip this moment. Something sacred is unfolding as you listen. God says you have been in a season where it felt like you were praying into the void, but the truth is you were praying into alignment. Ecclesiastes 3 says there is a time for everything under heaven, and this waiting season was not punishment, it was positioning. You were being shaped, healed, refined, and prepared to recognize what God is about to bring into your life. Hear this. The reason the connection felt delayed is because God was working on both hearts at the same time. You were being taught patience, surrender, and trust, while the other person was learning humility, clarity, and obedience. Heaven is watching the process, and God has not forgotten you. Psalm 27 verse 14 says, "Wait on the Lord, be of good courage, and he shall strengthen your heart." Wait, I say, on the Lord. This strengthening was necessary so you could carry what is coming. My beloved soul, stay with me till the end. Something powerful is waiting for you. There were nights you cried without words, days you smiled while your heart felt heavy, moments you questioned your worth, but God says every tear was counted, every prayer was recorded. Revelation speaks of prayers as incense before the throne, and yours rose like a sweet fragrance, mingling with the prayers of the one you're praying for, two streams rising toward the same heaven. Listen carefully, God is revealing proof not through logic, but through spiritual truth. The proof is in the restlessness you felt, the sudden peace after praying their name, the dreams that lingered, the nudges that would not leave, the way your spirit recognized something your mind could not explain. This is because the Holy Spirit was bearing witness. Romans 8 verse 26 says the Spirit intercedes for us with groanings too deep for words, and he was interceding for both of you. My beloved soul, do not leave yet. Heaven has more to reveal. There were moments when you almost gave up praying, moments you said, "God, if this is not for me, take it away," and yet the feeling remained, gentle but persistent. That was not obsession, that was intercession, that was God allowing your heart to partner with his plan, while the other person, unaware of you fully, was praying for clarity, for confirmation, for peace, and unknowingly praying for you. Hear this, the waiting was not wasted. Isaiah 40 verse 31 says those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength, they shall mount up with wings like eagles. This renewal was happening beneath the surface, even when you felt tired, even when faith felt thin, God was renewing you quietly, and doing the same on the other side of this connection, because what is coming requires two healed hearts, not one chasing and one running. My beloved soul, if you remain till the end, the final word will change everything. God says there were things He needed to remove before the answer could arrive, old wounds, old fears, old expectations. You were praying for a person, but God was preparing you for a promise, and the same was true for them. Heaven is watching how both of you surrendered what you could not control. This is not coincidence. This is covenant preparation. Listen carefully, there is proof in the timing, the delays that protected you, the missed connections that spared you pain, the doors that closed without explanation. God says if you had met before the healing, it would have hurt instead of healed, but now the prayers are aligning, now the silence is breaking, now the season is shifting. Galatians 6 verse 9 says, do not grow weary in doing good, for in due season you will reap if you do not lose heart. My beloved soul, stay present, do not rush past this. God says the person you are praying for has also had nights of surrender, moments of frustration, questions they could not answer. They have asked God for someone who understands, someone who prays, someone who carries peace, and heaven whispered your name before they ever knew your face. This is the mystery of God, knitting hearts before hands ever touch. Hear this. The proof is in the transformation you've already experienced. You pray differently now, you trust deeper now, you wait with more grace now. This is because you were being prepared not just to receive, but to sustain what God is bringing, and the other person has been going through their own quiet transformation, shedding layers, learning to listen, becoming ready to meet what God has already ordained. My beloved soul, do not skip this revelation. Something holy is being spoken over you. God says you were never praying alone. Heaven was echoing back. The angels were carrying messages. Daniel 10 reminds us that from the first day you set your heart to understand, your words were heard, and though there was delay, the answer was on its way. Spiritual alignment takes time because it lasts longer. Listen carefully, this is not about chasing a person, this is about trusting God's timing. When two people pray separately but are aligned by heaven, God Himself becomes the bridge. Psalm 37 verse 5 says, commit your way to the Lord, trust also in Him, and He shall bring it to pass, not you, not them, but God, and He is faithful to finish what He starts. My beloved soul, stay with me. Heaven is still speaking. You may not see movement yet, but there is motion in the Spirit. Prayers are crossing paths. Hearts are being softened, fear is being replaced with courage, and clarity is being released. God has not forgotten you. This is not a coincidence. You were led here on purpose to hear that your prayer has a mirror on the other side. Hear this deeply. The reason this word feels personal is because it is. God is speaking directly to you, calling you His beloved, reminding you that love in His hands is never late, never rushed, never careless. 1 Corinthians 13 reminds us that love is patient, and what God is building between you and the one you're praying for is rooted in patience so it can stand in peace. My beloved soul, do not leave yet, the climax is near. God says the prayers are about to meet in manifestation. What has been happening in the unseen is preparing to show itself in the seen. Continue to pray without anxiety, continue to trust without pressure, continue to surrender without fear. Because what you prayed for is not slipping away, it is drawing closer. Listen carefully, God says you will recognize the moment not by chaos, but by peace. When the alignment happens, your spirit will settle, your heart will feel safe, your faith will breathe. This is how you will know it is God. Philippians 4 verse 7 says the peace of God which surpasses all understanding will guard your heart and mind. That peace will be your confirmation. My beloved soul, stay till the very end. Heaven has one more word for you. God says stop questioning your worth, stop replaying the past, stop assuming delay means denial. The person you're praying for is already praying for you, and heaven is smiling over the faith that kept you going even when you didn't see proof. This is not coincidence. This is divine fulfillment approaching. Hear this final declaration. God says what you prayed for is very near. Closer than you think, closer than you feel, closer than you imagined. Remain faithful, remain gentle, remain expectant, because the God who heard both prayers is about to answer them in his perfect way. Rest now, my beloved soul, peace is yours, hope is alive, and divine fulfillment is on the horizon. Listen carefully, my beloved soul, do not rush past this sacred continuation. Heaven is still speaking, and this next portion carries a weight meant only for you. God says the reason your spirit feels stirred again is because the alignment is intensifying. Prayers do not simply vanish after being heard, they mature, they grow, they move through seasons, and right now your prayer is in its final stages of preparation. Just as the other person's prayer is reaching its completion, heaven is watching closely as these two streams draw nearer to convergence. Hear this deeply. There were moments you felt an unexplainable pull to pray harder, to release control, to surrender outcomes. That was not random, that was God inviting you into agreement with what he was already doing, and on the other side, the person you're praying for was experiencing similar nudges, moments where they felt compelled to pray without knowing why, moments where your name was being shaped in their spirit before it was ever known in their mind. My beloved soul, do not skip this moment. Something tender is being revealed now. God says both of you have prayed prayers of protection, not knowing you were praying protection over each other. You asked God to guard your heart, to heal old wounds, to remove wrong connections, and the other person prayed for discernment, clarity, and freedom from past cycles. Heaven intertwined those prayers so that when you finally meet, you are not meeting from brokenness, but from healing. Listen carefully. The proof you seek is not always visible to the eyes, it is felt in the spirit. It is the peace that returns after you release control, it is the calm that settles when you choose trust over fear, it is the quiet assurance that keeps whispering, wait just a little longer. God says that whisper is his voice guiding you through the final stretch, reminding you that what is coming is worth the wait. My beloved soul, stay with me till the end. Something powerful is still unfolding. There were times you wondered if you were foolish for continuing to pray, if you were holding on to something imaginary, but God says faith often feels foolish before it feels fulfilled. Noah built an ark before rain ever fell, Abraham believed before he ever saw the promise, and you have been praying before the answer appeared. This is the language of faith. Hear this, God says the other person has also wrestled with doubt, questioned timing, and asked heaven for signs. And just as you were led here on purpose, they too have been led through confirmations meant to prepare them, songs that spoke to their heart, scriptures that seemed to answer unspoken questions, moments of stillness where they felt peace instead of fear. This is not coincidence. Heaven has been orchestrating reassurance on both sides. My beloved soul, do not leave yet. Heaven has more to reveal. God says the delay was also mercy, protecting both of you from meeting too soon, because premature connections often collapse under unhealed weight, but what God matures in secret can withstand pressure in public. This is why the waiting felt heavy, because something substantial was being built beneath the surface. Listen carefully, the season you are in now is not about striving, it is about resting in trust. God says you no longer need to beg or plead for what he has already secured. Your role now is to remain open, faithful, and receptive, to continue praying without desperation, to continue loving without fear, to continue believing without timelines, because divine alignment moves at heaven's pace, not human urgency. My beloved soul, if you remain till the end, the final word will settle your heart. God says the prayers are now echoing louder in the spiritual realm than ever before. Resistance is breaking, confusion is lifting, and clarity is forming. Both of you are becoming more sensitive to God's voice, more willing to obey, more ready to move when he says move. This is preparation for union under his guidance. Hear this deeply, God says you will not have to force this connection. When it manifests, it will feel natural, peaceful, and divinely timed. There will be no anxiety, no confusion, no chasing, only recognition, as if your spirit says, this is what I have been praying for, this is why I waited, this is why I trusted. Heaven is watching that moment draw closer. My beloved soul, stay present, do not drift. God says even now He is teaching you how to steward peace, how to guard your heart without closing it, how to hope without clinging. These lessons are not random, they are essential, because what is coming requires emotional maturity, spiritual grounding, and deep trust in Him, and you are learning these things step by step. Listen carefully, there is proof in how God has shifted your desires. What once felt urgent now feels surrendered, what once felt painful now feels peaceful. This is because you are no longer praying from lack, but from alignment, and the other person is undergoing a similar shift, learning to desire God's will above their own. This mutual surrender is the doorway to fulfillment. My beloved soul, do not skip this revelation. God says the reason your prayers have felt heavier lately is because you are praying closer to manifestation. Spiritual intensity often increases just before breakthrough, not because something is wrong, but because something is about to change. Remain steady, remain faithful, remain anchored in hope. Hear this, heaven is not confused about your prayers. God has not mixed up your requests. He knows exactly what you asked for, and He knows exactly how to answer in a way that brings peace, growth, and longevity. Trust that His answer will exceed your understanding while still honoring your heart. My beloved soul, stay with me, this message is still speaking life. God says the person you are praying for is being prepared to recognize you as an answer to their prayer, not as a coincidence, not as a distraction, but as confirmation, and when that recognition happens, it will bring clarity rather than confusion, peace rather than fear. Listen carefully, God says do not measure progress by silence. Sometimes the most powerful work happens when nothing seems to be happening. Roots grow underground before fruit appears above, and what God is growing between you and the other person is rooted deeply so it can bear lasting fruit. My beloved soul, do not leave yet. Heaven has one more layer to reveal. God says you are closer now than you have ever been, closer in alignment, closer in readiness, closer in trust. Continue to walk in obedience, continue to speak faith, continue to choose hope, because what you prayed for has not been forgotten, it is approaching with divine precision. Hear this final continuation. God says rest your heart tonight, release anxiety, lay down questions, and trust that the same God who connected your prayers will bring the answer at the appointed time. You were chosen to hear this because your faith has been seen, your tears have been counted, and your patience has been honored. Remain in peace, my beloved soul, heaven is still working, and fulfillment is drawing near. Listen carefully, my beloved soul, allow your spirit to settle as this message continues to unfold, because God says the nearness you are sensing is not imagination, it is spiritual proximity. When prayers begin to overlap in the unseen, hearts start moving before bodies ever do, and right now both of you are standing closer to the answer than you realize. Heaven is watching the final adjustments take place. The small internal shifts, the quiet obediences, the subtle courage rising where fear once lived. Hear this deeply. God says there was a time you prayed asking Him to remove this desire if it was not from Him, and instead of removing it, He refined it, softened it, purified it, because it was never meant to control you, it was meant to lead you into deeper trust, and the same refinement has been happening on the other side, stripping away fantasy, ego, and fear, leaving only what is genuine, sincere, and ready for God's hand. My beloved soul, do not skip this moment. Something holy is being spoken now. God says you are learning how to wait without losing joy, how to hope without clinging, how to love without fear. These are not small lessons, they are foundational, because what He is about to release must be carried with wisdom and grace, not anxiety or urgency, and heaven is pleased with how you have grown. Listen carefully. The proof continues to reveal itself through alignment rather than effort. Doors you did not push are beginning to loosen, conversations you did not force are being prepared, circumstances are quietly shifting. God says when He moves, it does not require strain. Psalm 127 reminds us that unless the Lord builds the house, those who build labor in vain. What is coming will be built by Him, not by your striving. My beloved soul, stay with me till the end. something powerful is still waiting. There were seasons you felt unseen, overlooked, forgotten, but God says heaven has been tracking every step of your obedience, every time you chose faith over frustration, every time you released control instead of forcing outcomes. These choices mattered. They shaped the path that is now opening before you. Hear this: the other person has been praying for assurance, for confirmation that what they feel is real and safe, and God says He is answering that prayer by preparing you to be a place of peace, not confusion, a place of truth, not games, a place of rest, not emotional chaos. This preparation is mutual, intentional, and divinely guided. My beloved soul, do not leave yet. Heaven has more to reveal. God says the reason your spirit resonates so deeply with this message is because it is echoing something He has already been whispering to you in private. This word is not new, it is confirmation, reinforcing what you sensed but did not yet fully trust. This is not coincidence. You were led here on purpose. Listen carefully. God says timing is not about delay, it is about alignment. When the time is right, everything moves together without resistance. Hearts, circumstances, conversations, clarity. This is why He has asked you to wait, not because He wanted to withhold, but because He wanted to ensure peace would accompany the promise. My beloved soul, if you remain till the end, the final word will anchor you. God says the prayers are now synchronized, no longer distant, no longer separate, but moving toward the same appointed moment. Both of you are being positioned to recognize God's hand rather than rely on emotion alone. This recognition will bring stability and confidence. Hear this deeply. God says you will not have to convince the other person of your value. What He ordains does not require persuasion. It is recognized by peace, affirmed by consistency, and sustained by mutual reverence. This is how you will know it is Him. There will be no guessing, only clarity. My beloved soul, stay present. Do not drift into fear or impatience. God says even now He is shielding you from unnecessary disappointment by asking you to trust Him fully, surrendering timelines, expectations, and imagined outcomes, because what He has prepared is better than what you could design on your own. Listen carefully. The proof is also in the quiet confidence growing within you. You no longer feel the need to chase signs, force answers, or seek validation. This calm assurance is evidence of spiritual maturity, and the other person is stepping into a similar place of inner steadiness. This shared grounding is essential for what is ahead. My beloved soul, do not skip this revelation. God says you are nearing a season where prayers turn into praise, where faith turns into fulfillment, where waiting turns into witnessing. Remain faithful in the small moments, remain gentle with your heart, remain open to God's leading. Hear this: heaven is watching how you steward hope, not letting it harden into disappointment, but allowing it to remain soft and trusting. This posture honors God, and He responds to it with favor. Psalm 84 says, "No good thing does He withhold from those who walk uprightly." My beloved soul, stay with me. The message is still unfolding. God says the connection you have prayed over will arrive with clarity, not confusion, with peace, not pressure, with purpose, not fear. This is how you will know it has been answered by Him. Listen carefully. The final adjustments are happening now, subtle but significant. Hearts aligning, fears dissolving, courage rising. Continue to pray without anxiety, continue to trust without striving, continue to believe without forcing. My beloved soul, do not leave yet. Heaven has one last reassurance for you. God says you are not behind, you have not missed your moment, and nothing has slipped through His hands. What you prayed for is approaching at the exact time your heart can receive it in peace. Hear this final declaration. God says rest now, release control, and remain expectant. The person you're praying for is already praying for you. Heaven has heard both prayers, and divine fulfillment is unfolding with precision. Remain in peace, my beloved soul. What God promised is very near, and it will arrive wrapped in His perfect timing. Listen carefully, my beloved soul, as we come to the sacred closing of this word. Let your heart be still and receive what heaven is sealing right now. God says the reason you have been able to stay until this very moment is because your spirit was meant to hear the ending. This message was not only to comfort you, it was to prepare you, to anchor you, and to remind you that what God is doing does not require your fear, only your trust. Hear this deeply. God says the prayers that have been rising from both sides have reached a place of agreement in heaven. There is no longer division, no longer distance in the spirit. The work that needed to be done in secret has been done, and now heaven is shifting from preparation to permission. What was once held back for your protection is now being released for your peace. My beloved soul, do not rush past this final moment. God says the silence you experienced was not rejection, it was refinement. He was teaching you how to hear Him without constant reassurance, how to trust Him without visible proof, how to love without fear of loss. These lessons were necessary so that when the answer arrives, you will recognize it without panic and receive it without doubt. Listen carefully. God says the person you are praying for has reached a place of surrender as well. They have laid down expectations, timelines, and old patterns. They have asked God not just for connection, but for alignment, and heaven has answered by preparing both of you to meet from wholeness rather than need, from peace rather than longing, from trust rather than fear. My beloved soul, stay present as heaven speaks this final reassurance. God says you do not need to worry about missing the moment. What is ordained will find you, what is meant for you will recognize you, and what God has joined together cannot be delayed by confusion or fear. When the time comes, it will unfold naturally, gently, and clearly. Hear this. The proof you were seeking was never meant to come as evidence you could analyze, it was meant to come as peace you could rest in. The calm settling in your spirit right now is confirmation, the quiet hope rising in your heart is assurance, and the release you feel is alignment. This is how God confirms His promises. My beloved soul, heaven is watching you lay down anxiety and pick up trust, watching you release control and choose faith, watching you rest instead of strive. And God is pleased, because faith that rests honors Him more than faith that rushes. Psalm 46 reminds us, "Be still and know that I am God." This stillness is your final instruction. Listen carefully. God says what you prayed for is no longer distant, it is no longer uncertain, it is approaching in a way that will not disturb your peace, but protect it, not test your faith, but affirm it, not reopen wounds, but confirm healing. This is the fruit of waiting well. My beloved soul, receive this closing declaration. God says you were seen, you were heard, you were chosen to walk this path, and you did not wait in vain. The person you're praying for is already praying for you. Heaven has united those prayers, and the answer is unfolding with divine precision. Rest now in peace, walk forward in faith, and remain expectant, because what God promised is very near. And it will arrive wrapped in His perfect timing. Type Amen.